Chết. Chết đi trời.
This is where Hero made his last transmission. He may still be in the area. Hurry, Jack!
I'm actually happy to see you. My desk droid's in bad shape. Weapon systems are still online, but my actuators are shot. I'm not going anywhere.
I hate to interrupt, but the radar is picking up enemy units surrounding your position, and they're starting to move in. You have to get out of there now!
I'm wounded pretty bad. Get out of here while you can. I'll cover you.
I've got a better idea. How about I fight off these Zentradi, and when we get back to base, you can tell Commander Chase that I deserve a medal instead of a court-martial. this round. I better take you back to the cat's eye before we press our luck.
Commander Chase reported regularly to Admiral Glowval in New Macross City and pleaded for food, medical supplies, Veritech parts, anything they could spare. But Chiron had been raiding New Macross City for nearly a year, and there wasn't much they could do to help. Without the RDF's support, we all knew that Zaral's army would soon overwhelm us and seize control of the wasteland. After completing repairs to his ship, Chiron was ready for a final assault on New Macross City. Zaral reported that his troops were also ready and agreed to meet Chiron outside the city before the attack. But Zaral had different plans for his new army. When Chiron reached New Macross City, Zaral's army never joined him. In the end, Chiron and his forces were completely destroyed. But as he died, he managed to wipe out both the SDF-1 and the newly completed SDF-2 in one last act of defiance. Zaral never understood Chiron's obsession with the SDF-1. He wanted to seize the entire planet while the RDF was weakened by Chiron's attack. That way he could prepare for the arrival of the Robotech Masters. New Macross City lay in ruins. Without their help, there was nothing to stop his forces from overwhelming Base 6. We spent time reinforcing our defenses, building shelters for the refugees, going over contingency plans. In the end, all we could do was wait.
This is no probe. It's the real thing. Bring all units to full alert. If the enemy gets past the outpost, they'll quickly overwhelm the base. Jack, you better watch out for those fighter pods. The destroyed monsters are vulnerable without your support.
Time to take these guys to school. Next time, try aiming.
We fought hard. We can't hold them back any longer.
How do you like the new look? I'm grateful to these machines, you know. They've kept me alive long enough to find you at last. Since our battle, I thought only of you. Perhaps this is what my training called love. I know I won't feel whole again until I've crushed you underfoot.
That's not love you're feeling, Kiora. We Micronians call that psychosis.
I'm going to roll the first horses to fight back with eyes of snow. You kill me, and you never come. Can't try again.
scary, giant, crazy lady. She was an incredible pilot. I guess I'm lucky to be alive.
You did it! Zeral's troops are retreating. Zeral's commanders are attempting to escape through the canyons. Shuttles are waiting for them at the other end to bring them to Zentradi City. Destroy all officer pods and the shuttles before they get away. What's your status? Zeral...
access to the shuttles. Now to deal with those officer pods.
The Zentradi are retreating north to Zentradi City, but they'll still pose a danger if we allow them to regroup and mount more attacks. Jack, Izzy, you know what you need to do. Make sure you both come back safely.
Need a little help here.
$5 you owe me, Commander.
I know I'm gonna regret this, but good job, Wolf 10. This is the moment of truth. Your orders are to find and eliminate Zeral. Our intelligence reports say he's likely to be holed up within that crashed carrier. The city has been fortified with turret positions and male power armor commandos. Destroy units have already penetrated into the city, and they've been ordered to give you support. Don't worry about them. Just see that you find Zeral.
Yeah, that's right. Jack the Giant Killer. Time to take these guys to school.
This is the moment. the city and clear out the remaining Zentradi.
Time to take these guys to school.
yourself get careless now.
Careless? You must have me confused with another pilot. What's that? Something weird is happening here.
It's a space boat. Jack, get out!
It seems I owe my defeat largely to your interference, Jack Archer. You even managed to best my finest warriors. I congratulate you for that. But now, my fortune has suddenly changed, I think. Even if you manage to win this battle, you shall surely die with me, here in the vacuum of space. We're too far from your dead little world to have any hope of returning.
Yeah? If that's what it takes to kick you off my planet, then so be it.
Zentradi.
You think that's a... Yeah!
fight like a Zentradi.
You think that's a compliment?
You've lost your edge.
Now, you know the whole story. Or at least, as much as I know. I've done some things I'm not proud of. I just hope that in the end, I've helped more people than I've harmed. And maybe even made a difference in their lives. The oxygen's too thin for me to talk anymore. I guess it's a good time to go. The future's looking so bright.
Actually, the closest we got more often than not was just kind of in passing, because most of the time we sat down and we worked one-on-one with the director. We'd be given our lines, and I mean, we'd have the script in front of us and do our lines, and sometimes the other characters were recorded before us, and you'd actually have something to work off of, a line prior to yours to stimulate you to say yours. But the majority of the time, it was just, you'd say your lines and kind of hear theirs in your head. And there wasn't a lot of situations where we were brought in as twos or threes, unless it was a group, kind of a Waller thing or something like that. I guess it was about a year. If you're not already aware, I died in the Robotech project. I'm back. But yeah, it was about a year, I think, and I believe around 15 episodes. Great fun. Yeah, I think bad guys are a lot of fun. I'm back to the serial killer thing, but I did an original play, one act, about a year ago that I played a serial killer. That was fun. I would never suggest acting it out in any other way, but it was just, it is great fun, and it's like having the capacity to make people go ooh or hate you. That's very powerful, and it's enjoyable. Plus, you get to act out all the nastiness you might have in your system and not hurt anyone. That's valuable. No. Kidding. Yeah, this is great fun. It still is. Now I can actually have memories I'll remember later on. But yeah, absolutely. This is truly enjoyable, and it's gotten better.
Well, if you're talking about a cartoon character, I assume. The thing is that we have to audition for every time we're going to go out to do something. We have to audition. So if you get to see it ahead of time, that for me, that's what I need. I need to see. I need to know like a couple days ahead that I'm going to go in for a certain character. Most of the time, they don't give you that luxury. They just say, okay, you're coming in, and we'll have copy for you when you get there, and you have to kind of wing it. But if you know ahead of time, then you can start working on it. And I remember I did a little boy. It was my first little boy voice, and I guess I saw the picture first of what he looked like, and he was British. So then I worked with my tape recorder. So I wouldn't do that for for plays or for television, but for voice work, it's really helpful if you have a tape recorder that you can you see an image of the character, so you know how old. So you can almost gear in your head. You say, okay, this little boy is 8, or this little boy is 12, or whatever. And I start with that, with having an age, because that helps me with the voice. And then I just practice some line readings in my tape recorder until I think I've got the right quality that I'm imagining for the character. I may be wrong for what the director wants, but that's how I sort of worked on him, and that's how I got this boy part in I think it was called Soccer Boy. I got the lead boy, and
worked on a little 8-year-old boy because that's what they wanted. And then when they cast me, they said, oh, they've changed the age of the boy. He's now 12. I go, oh, I'd worked so hard just to get the 8 down. So I had to go back into the studio and audition for the, now he was 12. But they still kept me and did a great job. Well, I just saw her picture last night for the first time, so that helped a lot, because I was thinking first, oh, she must be, you know, like maybe in her 40s or something, but when I saw she was younger, then I had to gear my voice down a little bit. Now, she's very much in charge, and so that's usually I play a little lighter character, so it was just keeping myself focused on slowing up my diction so that I could give her that sound that sounded like someone in charge. And I guess it worked out okay because no one seemed to stop me on too much. And she's just, she's a pretty much just in charge person as far as I can tell.
Well, on Robotech, I was the story editor, in addition to writing scripts, in addition to directing, in addition to acting. And everybody was pleasant to work for. Carl was great to work with. But the process for that series was so intense. I was doing so many different things. It was 7 days a week. It was 52 weeks. It took us a year or more to do it. And I was exhausted. I was totally wiped out when it was over with, and I swore off doing any more series work for a long time, and I stuck to it because they went right on from doing Robotech to a thing called Captain Harlock and the Queen of 1,000 Years, and they said, come on, let's do this series, and I said, go on without me. I got to go home and sleep. I don't think, I was sleep deprived at that point. I mean, I had been literally working around the clock. We would do 7 days, nights and days, you know, included the weekends and everything. So it was great to work with Carl, it was great to work with the guys, but it was exhausting. And unfortunately, as a story editor, I also had to tell writers whether their scripts were working or not. I ended up reviewing them. And we had hired some people that had been in this business long before I had ever been in it, and their scripts weren't that good. And Carl said, well, you're going to have to let them go. I said, why me? You're the producer. You know, you fire them. He said, no, that's your job. So I ended up having to let him go, and there was some bad feelings about that lasted for a long time. What's it like to get together with the Robotech cast? Well, I still have kept in touch with a lot of these people over the years because I've been writing and directing other projects down through the years. So it's not like I haven't seen them in 17 years. Most of these people still work with me. I still hire them, or I still work with them on other projects. So, you know, it's fun to get together, but it's not that unusual. We still get together or keep in touch, and we have all through the years. I mean, this is just a portion. Today we got 7 people together to do the Robotech CD-ROM. There was probably 50 people that worked as voice actors on the Robotech series. I've kept in touch with most of them. I would say a handful of them have either died or retired, or moved away, or just said, you know, I've had enough, I'm going to go back home to Skokie or someplace. But most of them are still here, they're still working, and I'm still hiring them for other projects.
I am Minmay. Completely. There's only one difference. I'm a lot sexier than Minmay. No, actually, I think a lot of people see Minmay, I know they either love her or they hate her. Usually they hate her because they think she's pretty shallow and, you know, that kind of thing. But I think that she's basically innocent and she just wants to enjoy life and doesn't really want to get heavy with things, and she's also very young. And I think that when she had kids like me, she would probably be more grounded. But I think basically she's a real sensitive person. remember the name. It was called It's You, and which was, I think the reason I liked it was a really sweet song, but mainly it was, I think, the only one that I wasn't flat in. No, just kidding. But it was a sweet song. I kind of got into that one. It was an extremely pleasant one because the person that composed the music, his name was Opio Minucci, was one of the sweetest, just most interesting people. He was sort of old-fashioned in a way. I mean, I kind of expected the music at first to be kind of more pop-like, and the stuff that he wrote was more like singing a Broadway kind of thing. And it was, I mean, he just made it so easy. I'd go over to his house and rehearse, and then we went into the studio and they had the music already pre-recorded, and you know, we pretty much worked on it all day. But it was a great experience.
Yeah, they fall into a couple of categories. As far as acting and voiceovers and doing this sort of thing is concerned, I'm actually working on several different anime series right now. One of them is called Van Dread, which I believe just came out. I'm Biki in that. Another one is, I just started working on Lupin the Third, which is coming out later this year. I'm playing the lead in that. And the third one is, oh, I can't remember. As a director and a writer, working on Real About High School and GTO and a couple of other projects like that. I also have a company that I've started. We just put our first live educational puppet show into schools in the state of Florida, and that just started up this year. And I continue to write and pitch projects, different kinds of television stuff all over town. Give me a second.
What about when,
Okay, well, Robotech moment. I was one of the creators and co-producer of Power Rangers when I first came on here. And my first, it was the second day on the set of the pilot. We had a couple of new characters come on, and one guy was a gentleman by the name of Paul Schreier, who plays the part of Bulk in the original series. And he's a rather large gentleman, and we were standing in line, breakfast line, before we started shooting in the morning, and just conversing, and he asked me what my background, and so I started talking about it, and I mentioned Robotech. And he went completely crazy. It turned out he was a total Robotech fan, had stuff in his dressing room regarding Robotech, and I was there trying to get a show going, and he was asking me for my autograph. It was just very weird, surreal. We became great friends, actually. We still see each other frequently. It's a little surreal to be working on Robotech again. It's been a long time since we did the original. And, although there's been a lot of little fan things that have come up from time to time and conventions, by and large it was something of the past. So to be here doing it again and to be working with all of the same cast members again, it's pretty cool. Hero's kind of the antithesis of Rick Hunter. Rick's kind of the reluctant hero. He's really not a big testosterone-laden he-man of a fighter. He fights because he has to, and because he wants to live up to Roy's legacy more than anything else. Hero is kind of he's a fighting man. He's a tank commander. Destroid's kind of like a tank. He's a tank commander. He's really in the grips of it, and he has an extreme hatred for the Zentradi. So that's always playing in the background. He doesn't want to be nice to the Zentradi that have come over to the human side. He wants them all gone. So it's very different. He's not a gentle guy. He's kind of forceful and rough and tumble.
Don't remember who called me for the audition, to tell you the truth, but I do remember that I felt I had gotten the part because when they called me in to read for Lisa, they showed me a sequence where she walks up to, I think, the front of the SDF-1 and gives a command of some kind, and she flips her hair. Just as well, I didn't even intend to do this, but I walked up to the mic and I flipped my hair as I walked up there, which was about her length at that time, longer. And I in the studio after that was like, hello, oh, it was like they felt I had connected with her essence or something, which apparently had something to do with hair flipping, I guess. Well, I think it's the same kind of thing as any imaginative show that people connect with at some point in their life where, and that can be it can be when they're teenagers or it can be when they're older, where they need something that sets their imagination free and takes them to other worlds. I remember when I was a teenager, there was a show on called Dark Shadows, and this was more of a kind of an occult kind of thing, you know, with vampires and witches and alternate dimensions, and I was just fascinated with that. It wasn't really very good at all, but I loved it because it really freed up, you know, your imagination. And I know the actors. I met a couple of the actors in Dark Shadows. They don't understand the appeal of Dark Shadows. I think a lot of times the people who are doing it aren't really connecting with it on the same level as people are watching it. But after they did it, then they understood the appeal. Same as after I did Robotech, I understood the appeal. It's like really, it's just a starting point for people to get their imaginations fired up and go from there. And a lot of times it'll take them even to a whole career, maybe in animation or something like that. It's wonderful to see where people will go with that initial thing that gets them excited. Yes, although until last night I wasn't sure how she was going to sound. I'm like, okay, I need to come up with something that doesn't sound like Lisa at all, so I don't know if I can take her down. I'll have to take, anyway, but yeah, she's wonderfully psychotic, so, and totally different from the heroine mode, so I love playing villainesses. And animation is one of the few places I get to play villainesses because, I guess because of the way I look in person. My voice can do just about anything, but when they see me in person, it's like, oh, no, wait, no, she's not a villainess. She wouldn't hurt a fly.
Well, I actually didn't really have a choice in the matter. I was kind of born into the business. My father was an actor, Robert Clark, who was like king of the B horror flick in the 1950s. The Hideous Sun Demon, Man from Planet X. My mom was a singer, one of the King sisters, which for you young people was kind of like the Andrews sisters. And the King sisters later had a television series called The King Family, which included all of us kids. And that started, we did a pilot in 1964, and then started on the air with the series on ABC in, yeah, that was in the summer of 64, and then the series started in the winter of 65. And just never learned how to do anything else. Went to art school in Los Angeles for a while after a little stint at college. And then when they wouldn't give me a scholarship, I said, well, forget this. I'm going to go make a living instead. And started doing voiceovers, which was kind of an accident. And never looked back. And never really pursued. No, I take that back. An on-camera career never pursued me. Well, like I said, spent my youth on television with the King family, singing and dancing and traveling around the country with my family, performing in live theaters and things. But as an adult, all of my time has been spent doing voiceover work. Cartoon-wise, Robotech was actually the first series that I was involved with, and then one of the most successful shows I was with was the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I was Leonardo in that, Blue Mask, and also Rocksteady, who was one of the villains. One of my favorite roles was a couple of goofy little characters in a show called Eek the Cat. I played the Squishy Bears, which was a takeoff on the, what were they called? The Care Bears.
And one had this goofy little voice like this.
And the other one had this dumb voice. And we just lampooned the heck out of the Care Bears. Or, yeah, the Care Bears, right. And the Tick was probably one of my favorites, playing Deflator Mouse, who was a superhero that was in love with his own shadow, but scared to death to do any crime fighting. So that was a real blast. When I first started working on Robotech, I was pretty green as an animation actor. And I had some prototypes from, famous actors, things like that, that I used to draw upon characters. John Travolta, Sylvester Stallone, and a little guy, Matthew Broderick, who has done quite well for himself. And he was kind of the basis for my vocal choices for Max Sterling. However, as a lot of you know, with anime coming from Japan, it has been voiced for the first time in Japanese, and so we as English-speaking actors aren't free dramatically to create characters as we might when we're doing American projects, where we're free to record the script first and then they animate to us. So it gets kind of tricky to get both worlds together, the acting nuances as well as the technical part of making English words fit into drawings that were drawn to Japanese language. I can't remember back that far. How did we? Golly, how did I know Robotech was getting popular? Well, I knew that there were toys. I was on TV all the time, and anybody that was probably too small to ride this ride watched the show. And yeah, Cam, are you on that show? It sounds just like you. And oh, it's my favorite show. And being that it was on the street, man. I heard it on the street. It was a hit. I can honestly say no. I've never wanted to be a fighter or a pilot. However, for my 16th birthday, when my family was on the road, we were in some little town out in the Midwest, and some guy had gone to see our show, and I guess on stage that night we announced that it was my birthday. And he had this old, stormtrooper plane, and he said, for your birthday, if you guys have any time, would love to take you up. And I got to tell you, that was a blast. I felt like Snoopy and the Red Baron in an open cockpit, doing loop-de-loops and, loop-de-loops, what is it? Loop-de-loops and corkscrews. It was a blast. Goggles and leather jacket, the whole bit. As close as I need to get to being a fighter or a pilot. Do I play video games? That's kind of like the story about the shoemaker's children having no shoes. I do all this work in video games like Metal Gear Solid, which I was told was a big hit. And I do not. I kind of went kicking and screaming into the 20th century, let alone into the 21st. I only got a computer this last fall, my first time. And when I was a kid growing up, they didn't have them. And as an adult, I've just never got into playing games myself. But I have certainly enjoyed working on them, and all the people that we've met working on the shows, the various actors, sometimes working with, you know, television stars or movie stars, but playing them, I don't think I have the dexterity needed for, my thumbs don't move like that.